Coming up, Aggie football will be back this fall, how the return of the game will affect the local economy, and why the United Way of the Brazos Valley wants you to vote for them. 25 News Midday starts now. The pandemic stopped people from attending football games last year, but this year those games will be back to full capacity. Good morning, I'm Joey Horta. This is some pretty good news for the businesses here in the Brazos Valley. The Vineyard Court has 47 hotel rooms. During a home game, anywhere from 150 to 250 people stay at the hotel. Last year, when the football audience size was cut down as a safety precaution, Vineyard staff says only about 50 to 75 guests checked in.
Generally, we sell out all the rooms for football season right now. We're already sold out for most of the games this year, whereas last year it would be a couple days before people were still grasping, not knowing if they were going to come to town or not for the games.
The Aggies' first home game is on September 4th. State Farm is giving out $25,000 grants now to 40 different causes around the country, and it's part of the Neighborhood Assist campaign. The United Way of the Brazos Valley is hoping you'll vote for them. Their Ride to Health pilot program is a ride-sharing service. It connects drivers with patients who need transportation for non-emergency health appointments, mental health services, and pharmacy visits. You can vote online at uwbv.org. Today, Bryan police are looking for 24-year-old Antoine Witherspoon. Take a look at his picture. Officers say he's wanted in connection to a shooting at an apartment complex on Casimir Plaza. Call the number on your screen if you have seen him. And if you'd like to connect with KRHD online, just scan the QR code on your screen now to access our website and all of our social media accounts.
Well, we're talking about the tropics here as we go into your Friday. Things are going to be quiet here, but not the case in Mexico, where Hurricane Grace is going to be making landfall later on tomorrow at a second time. Right now, a pretty strong Category 1 storm. It should strengthen to Category 2 by the time we head into this evening, and then making landfall overnight there in central Mexico. Another system we're watching closely is Tropical Storm Henri. This is sitting off the coast of Florida out in the open Atlantic. 345 miles south-southeast of Cape Hatteras, 65-mile-per-hour winds, but this storm is expected to strengthen to a hurricane and could make landfall as a strong tropical storm or weak hurricane in New England coming up as we head into Sunday and Monday. Not a often occurrence that you see that, so something we will be watching for our neighbors to the northeast. Meanwhile, here in the Brazos Valley, things are going to be quiet, nothing tropical. In fact, not even expecting rain today. Mid-80s, that dew point is high though, 77, so it already feels like 96 across the area, and in some cases already feels like 100 in Navasota and in Madisonville at this time. You can see cloud streets streaming forward. Occasionally these can pop into a shower or a thunderstorm. Don't think that'll happen today though, because we've got a lot of high pressure over us that is sinking air, and that is going to keep that storm threat fairly low today. In fact, I think it'll stay less than around 20%. There may be a stray shower along I-45, but that is about it. We'll see south winds continuing around 5 to 15 miles per hour as we go through the day. And then heading into tomorrow, once again, we'll watch for a stray shower or thunderstorm by I-45, but that's less than a 20% chance as well. And this is going to be the start of a much drier pattern here in the Brazos Valley. Mid-90s on the way for today. 96 Bryan College Station, Summerville, 95 Navasota, 93 in Centerville, and that 10-day forecast showing you we'll be staying in the mid to upper 90s for this weekend. Maybe a few small sea breeze shower chances working in from about Wednesday on of next week, and that'll lower the temperatures just a little bit, but the humidity will still be around. So we'll be feeling like the triple digits here for the next 10 days or so as we continue with this August heat rolling back in.
Today, President Joe Biden will deliver remarks on the evacuation of American citizens, special immigrant visa applicants, and others in Afghanistan. The U.S. was forced to quickly evacuate tens of thousands of people from the nation after the Taliban took over. The State Department said 6,000 people were cleared for evacuation Thursday. That would mark a major increase from recent days. Hospitalization rates for people under 50 are setting new records. The biggest jump is with people 30 to 39 and kids under 18. The CDC says those rates are up more than 30% higher than their previous peak in early January. Right now, about half the population is fully vaccinated, and there's still no approved vaccine for kids under 12.
COVID-19 vaccine reviews are the top priority for the FDA. It is possible that we may have vaccines for under 12s before the end of the calendar year.
The school year has already started for many, putting kids squarely in the middle of the mask debate. President Biden has asked his education secretary to use his authority or even legal action against governors standing in the way of school officials pushing for mask requirements. The U.S. Department of Education announced it will cancel student loans for many people with disabilities. It says it's waiving $5.8 billion total for more than 300,000 people. To qualify, borrowers must have a total and permanent disability. The Social Security Administration will automatically identify eligible recipients. This comes as the debate over student debt heats up. Some lawmakers are pushing for widespread cancellation. Yesterday, the Education Secretary said the discussion about whether that's legal is still ongoing.
The Taliban looking for legitimacy, trying to form a government in Afghanistan, meeting with former Afghan leaders like Hamid Karzai. But how will a Taliban government look?
Do we get lured into a false narrative that this Taliban is not the Taliban you knew, sort of not your granddaddy's Taliban, that somehow this is a newer, moderate Taliban?
Richard Goldberg was a division director on the National Security Council. He says the world should not be duped by the Taliban, even as leaders call for a more inclusive government and pledging to respect women's rights within the boundaries of Islamic law.
They're very good at telling Westerners what they want to hear. If you look at the writings and teachings of Taliban leaders, nothing has changed in their ideology in 20 years. This is the exact same Taliban.
But acceptance from the Western world is vital. The Taliban will need access to markets, banking relationships, and keep sanctions at bay. While most of the United Nations' 193 member countries may not recognize the government, the Taliban could still seat a representative in the body.
We've seen in different cases in history when there is a coup or a different government that comes into power, that seat remains available at the United Nations, and it's incumbent upon the General Assembly whether or not they continue to recognize a government or a seat as legitimate.
The United States is already treating the Taliban as the most powerful force in Afghanistan, talking with leaders several times a day. Other nations like Russia and China are moving closer to recognizing the Taliban as the legitimate government of the country.
The CDC doubled down on its recommendation that expectant mothers get a COVID-19 vaccine, citing new data affirming its safety and effectiveness.
A lot of these safety concerns that people had in terms of risk for miscarriage, birth defects, early delivery with receipt of vaccine have not borne out.
Still, according to the CDC's most recent data, an estimated 77% of pregnant women remain unvaccinated against COVID-19. In Florida, Kristen McMullen, sick with COVID, only held her newborn for moments before being whisked away to the ICU. She died days later. 31-year-old Gracie Miller lost her life to COVID shortly after giving birth to a baby girl. Neither were vaccinated.
That baby would never know their mom. I couldn't imagine life without him and him without me.
Contrice is now on the mend. She says she's fortunate to have survived the ordeal and hopes more pregnant women will get vaccinated after hearing her story.
I wish I had had more information. You know, that's the thing. If I had been armed with more information, I could have made an informed decision about the health for me and the health for my baby and the exposure to my family.
She got her first shot in her 8th month, while still on oxygen and in the hospital.
It's worth it to get vaccinated. I'd rather take my chances with the vaccination than fare out here without it, because I've been without it and it's not worth it.
Reporting from Chicago, I'm Usher Qureshi.
Restaurants have suffered throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, and that isn't ending anytime soon. Beyond changes to dining and hours, they are dealing with rising costs of products. Some owners say they have no choice but to increase prices on their menus. You can't miss the smell of Gundalo Gourmet's homemade chocolate chip cookies when you pass by.
Thank you.
Homemade, delicious, local options. It's what they're all about.
Oh my gosh, you're busy with your cookie.
Dana Sicko has been living that very dream for nearly a decade.
But you know what? It's great.
But of course, COVID-19 changed her business's purpose and future plans.
I have not changed our prices in a decade. And I finally had to, because there are things that will keep me up at night for the prices that they've increased.
Instead of simply focusing on serving great food and providing an authentic experience, she has had to stress over staying in business.
Most of the items that I need, from forks to paper packaging, have all increased by 50% or more. Gloves went from being $18 a box for 1,000 of them up to $90 a box. $90. I mean, I just hit the floor and I started crying.
Those increases have given her no choice. She's had to raise her prices.
Well, by going up by $1 or $2, it makes a really big difference for us.
And she's far from the only business owner experiencing this struggle.
It's heartbreaking.
Gail Furman is one of the owners of Max's Tap House in Baltimore.
We are one of the top 20 beer bars in the world. We can hold 500 people in our establishment between our various rooms.
But the limited supply chain has given them no choice but to change their identity. With only one room open, they have pivoted to serving barbecue and are not receiving most of the beers they usually have shipped in.
Every supply chain that you look at is broken. And because of the limited labor, because of the limited product out there, products and costs are dramatically increasing.
She's also had to increase prices.
Chicken wings pre-pandemic, they were roughly $45 to $50 for a case. Last week, they were $196 a case.
But even worse, she's had to remove certain items.
Everyone knows about crab cakes and crab meat in Maryland. The price per pound has gone up from $21 a pound to yesterday it was $52 a pound, which is astronomical. So a lot of us have had to take crab products off of our menus. People just aren't going to pay the prices that we would need to charge in order to produce that product.
These increases could make or break local businesses like these across the country. Joanne Weiner, an economics professor at the George Washington University, says she isn't surprised by what's happening.
Partly why prices go up is because after you've had a downturn, when demand falls by definition, that when that downturn has become an upswing, well, people now have more money in their pockets. They go out and buy things. And as more and more people want to buy things, well, the way that the markets ration these relatively scarce things is they have the price go up.
She says it also feels drastic because prices haven't moved much in the last 10 to 15 years.
So there's no surprise that the eating out will get to be more expensive as the cost of workers goes up. And wages are going up, as we know, as restaurants try to attract people to come in and work.
Right now, there is no guarantee. These local restaurants are simply doing everything they can to stay afloat.
If I can take those prices down, I'm going to take those prices down right away.
In Baltimore, I'm Jessie Cohen reporting.
Millions of Americans will struggle with an eating disorder in their lifetime. But during the pandemic, some doctors across the U.S. are seeing this serious and sometimes deadly illness in a growing number of young people. At Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, there's been a steady increase in those being treated for eating disorders, from 108 hospital admissions in 2019 to 159 admissions so far this year.
We think this relates to both being out of normal settings like schools and athletics and things that keep kids connected to others, as well as spending more time online and more time at home.
Dr. Holly Gooding specializes in adolescent medicine. She says there are common signs parents can be on the lookout for in their children, including eating significantly less or more than they typically do, limiting or avoiding entire categories of food they once enjoyed, avoiding eating with the family or in groups, going to the bathroom or exercising immediately after eating, and significant changes in weight, whether that's an increase or decrease. She says it's also important for parents to be good role models.
Avoid talking about foods as either good or bad. Avoid talking about our own bodies as good or bad. and just avoid focusing on weight or shape in general.
If you see a sign that something isn't right, Gooding says talk to your family doctor. They can check your child's growth to see if there's been a change.
And we're talking about a hot day out there again today, 95 to 96 as we go through the day. Remember, it's going to be feeling like the triple digits, if not hotter, as we head into the afternoon. 95 today, 96 coming up Saturday and Sunday. Partly cloudy skies taking over, a few good pool days here. 97 Monday and Tuesday. We head into the middle of next week. High pressure backs off a little bit, and that'll bring in some small sea breeze shower chances as we go Wednesday on into Thursday. So the heat's just going to continue to roll on from here.
Rising college seniors are no strangers to change. The pandemic had forced schools to go remote, and many traditional internship opportunities were not available. Though the latter half of their college experience was plagued with obstacles, the silver lining is that so many companies are hiring.
Well, the demand is definitely high. There's lots of jobs for a variety of reasons. Companies reduced headcount last year. They're growing again.
Brandy Britton is a district president for Robert Half, a human resources consulting firm. She says the demand for employees is making employers work harder to attract applicants by doing things like shortening their hiring process and offering higher wages. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average wage for non-managers is $25.83. That's up almost 8% from the start of the pandemic. However, the fastest growing wages can be found in industries like hospitality and retail, where wages are up around 10%. So are jobs for blue-collar workers. With all these openings and many in the corporate world being remote, it could be hard for someone new to the working world to get a sense of the culture or fit of a job. Britton suggests looking into contract work, where you can gain experience but don't necessarily have to commit long term.
And they're saying, okay, I like this industry. I think I want to go with this industry versus that industry. And normally you wouldn't have that opportunity.
So what things can college seniors be doing right now to set themselves up for success? Using the skills they gained in remote school and being plugged into this tech-focused world can add weight to their resume.
It could be that you've built your own website or have built a social media following and you're using certain tactics, marketing tactics, and you can use that as work samples. All of these things are really powerful.
No matter what the industry may be, the future for the class of 2022 looks brighter than the tough years they endured to get there. I'm Vanessa Bashania reporting.
Hello, how are you?
This Kansas City ice cream shop is making sure everyone feels included one scoop at a time. April is giving her employees a different kind of training and a lesson in inclusivity, teaching some of the basics in American Sign Language.
I wanted the deaf community to feel comfortable coming here.
April is hoping to inspire other businesses to learn and make people with disabilities feel welcome.
Just try. The deaf community loves when hearing people try to include them or try to do sign.
I am a big fan of coffee.
And now you're going to be able to make any drink you want.
Yes, sir.
You are looking at the next great baristas of Tampa. They're at Coffee College thanks to a nonprofit that helps boost job prospects for people with barriers to employment.
Our programs are designed to make sure people can get out of a food line.
Barista training lasts a week and is an intensive deep dive into coffee history and delicious coffee making.
It's not like a server, it's an hourly wage, and it's anywhere between 12 and 14 bucks an hour plus tips. So they can end up making anywhere between 17, 18, even $20 an hour.
We love flavors, and we know people love the mixtures. So we decided to put my name on it so people know it belongs to Nelson, and we got the flavor.
Welcome to Nelson's Flavorades. When hot summer days hit Kansas City, Nelson's flavorful lemonade is a popular thirst quencher. The young entrepreneur has even received a van for his business. He has a message for other aspiring young business owners.
If you want to do something, put your mind to it and you can get it done.